If you've been putting off that painting project because you think it's too big, this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to show you how we tackled painting our whole downstairs in just one weekend. That was a day and a half. I'm going to cover everything from preparation to cleanup, including recommendations on paint purchasing. I'm Eddie Field with Field Got a DIY, showing you how you can do it yourself. Let's dive in. Now first, preparation is key. You got to get the right paint. See, they have this thing called builder's grade, which is pretty much like tempera paint. It goes on and you just can't wipe it, because we've had some cleanups where we just wanted to wipe something off the wall. Next thing you know, we see drywall. That's builder's grade. It's like the lowest, cheapest paint they can get. That just covers the wall in order to get it ready to sell the house. That's not what you're looking for. You're looking for a higher end paint. Don't be afraid to spend the money, because higher quality paint, you're just gonna have to pay for. So you want something that's gonna be wipeable, washable. We went with a latex matte finish from Sherwin-Williams. The Sherwin-Williams sales folks will give you lots of advice. They'll also try to sell you some things, but they will give you lots of advice on how to knock this out. While we're on the subject of paint purchase, you're gonna have to determine whether or not you're gonna need a primer and paint in one, or just a regular paint. For our project, we went with the same color, so we didn't need primer. If you're covering up a darker color with a lighter color, you may have to get either a primer or a primer and paint in one. Also, as part of your purchase of your paint, you're gonna want to get the right equipment. I've got a video on the perfect painter's checklist for all the equipment that you'll need for a painting project like this one. So I recommend you, for your trim work, you get a nice brush with a tapered edge. You can tell this one is mine. It's got a nice bristle and a nice tapered edge. So purchase a nice trim brush. You'll also want to purchase a nice roller cage as well as roller covers. This is going to make cleanup so easy, because you just slide that on there, do all your roller work, and then at the end, you'll just pull that off and throw it away. This is a very thick nap. You may want something with a little shallower pile. In addition, you may have a paint pan, but invest for cleanup sake in a paint pan insert. Don't try to paint with this alone. If you try to paint and roll with just this, you're in for a mess. So put your paint pan insert in your paint pan. Also, while you're at the store, pick up one of these paint can pourers. They're just so easy. And in fact, look at how easy the previous paint comes off. I think this is plastic or silicone. You can flex it to make sure that paint comes off. It'll keep the paint from running down the sides of your paint can when you're pouring into your paint pan or into your trim bucket. Part of your preparation, you're gonna pick up a nice quality painter's tape. Sure, you can go to the dollar store and pick up 15 rolls for $1.49. That's not gonna be quality tape. What you want is a good quality tape, because the more stickiness that you have on the edges, that's gonna keep the paint from going behind the tape and creating a mess for you. I've also got a video on drop cloths. I recommend you stay away from the thin, cheap saran wrap kind of drop cloths. Get you a nice canvas drop cloth, or even better, I like to take the mattress covers, which is a thick gauge plastic, sort of what you might have heard of Visqueen. So get you a nice thick piece of plastic, something that's not porous, so if you do have a spill, it's not gonna go through that fabric if you had like an old bed sheet onto your floor. What a mess. So once you got the right paint, then you wanna go to preparation. You wanna take care of any spackling, any filling of holes. You may want to address nail pops, like point where the drywall screw is starting to show through the drywall. You wanna address that. I've got a video on that. You'll also want to address any holes in the drywall, like where a doorknob has come through because the kids have slammed the door open. You'll want to address that as well. I've got another video where I tested out 5 different drywall repair techniques and which one is the right for you. You'll come back through and you'll get all your spackle all sanded nice and smooth, as well as your drywall repair. That's your preparation. You may want to also, if you have any cracks like between the baseboard or the crown molding, come back through with a bead of caulking. Take care of that before leading up to the painting project. Now you're going to come through, you're going to remove all wall hangings, any shelving that can be taken down, and you're also going to remove all switch plates and outlet plates. I recommend you put a piece of painter's tape over the outlet and over the light switches. This way, when you're rolling, you don't have to worry about it. You just roll right over it. You're going to be wanting to take the time and apply the painter's tape to all your trim work, your chair rails, your baseboard, maybe even your crown molding, all your door frames, your window frames, your door jambs. Also, don't let your paint just sit there with the lid off. We kept putting the paint can lid on in between filling the paint can or filling the paint cup. So first what I did is I filled up my wife's rolling pan, got her going. I also put down the drop cloth ahead of her so that could keep her working. I set up the ladder for her. I set up the several drop cloths ahead of her. Then I filled up my trim paint cup. Really keeps things moving if you have a partner to help you. So this way you can load up their paint pan, keep the drop cloth rotating ahead of them so you're on this rhythm where you're filling their paint pan, keeping them rolling, and working ahead of them. That's going to be the key to making this done in one weekend. They're going to come through with their paint roller. They may have an extension rod that screws in, and they're going to be doing their W's and their M's. What's a W and an M? Let me demonstrate. I'm going to take the loaded roller and I'm going to apply the paint to the wall in a W fashion. This gets a layer of paint on the wall in that shape. And then I'm going to come back through with the roller and then just work the roller out, overlapping. That's key. Overlapping where I left off previously. Work that out and apply that paint, pulling from that W or from that M. Then I'm going to look back and I'm going to see from the sheen of the original paint color. Then I may need to come back through with my roller and pull up some lightly additional paint as I fill in those spots that may have been thinner than the other. Once I get that whole section done, I'm ready to move on, and I overlap where I left off as I work my way around the room. That allowed me to get up on the ladder and do the crown molding. I like to do all the trim work. So what I'll do is I'll fill this bucket up and I'll just, with my trim brush, go around, do all the crown molding, do all the baseboard molding, and cut in, that's called cutting in, all around these locations. I'll also work around the outlets and work around the switch so we don't have to get so close with the roller. Now, some tips on cutting in. What I like to do is I'll soak the brush up to about 3/4 of the bristle. That really loads up the paintbrush with paint. Then, whatever side I'm not applying the paint from, I'll scrape off that side. Then, whatever side I have the paint loaded on, just imagine this is the wall, I'll start with the tip of the bristle. And then as I'm going along, I'll start to see that paint is being applied, but it's getting thinner. So I'll push down and curl so that I'm touching more and more, applying more and more paint from way up here, as opposed to just the tip. So as I'm going along, I'm applying and I'm using the curl of the bristle, the flex of the bristle, to get in there and apply more paint as I go along. Then once the paint is applied, then I can go back through and even it out. I'll go back through, load up my brush again, scrape the opposite side, and start by applying my paint first with the tip, and then as I go along, push the paint. Think of it like you're pushing the paint onto the wall. Don't worry about brush marks. If you have a quality paint, that paint is going to even out and flow out and make a nice smooth surface. Oh, I forgot to mention, with your trim brush, you're also going to want to put paint in the corners because the roller is not going to be able to only get so far. You may want to keep a damp washcloth on hand. That is a clean face cloth that has just a little bit of water on there for any drops or spills. You also want to periodically go back through and look at your work to make sure there are no drips, no runs coming down. If there are, then you want to address that right away. Don't let a section dry before you come back to it. Periodically go back and take pride in your work, but evaluate your work. Oh, I missed a spot. Oh, it didn't overlap there. Get your roller and cover it over once again. Make another pass. Now the paint job's done, we're ready to take off our tape. I will let the paint dry before pulling off the tape. That's just me. So I'll be pulling off the edge, and I kind of have this 45-degree angle. So it pulls off of a clean edge without tearing the tape. I slowly and carefully pull off that painter's tape at that 45-degree angle. So when I clean up the brush, I let the water run through there and keep pushing out that paint, whatever paint that's in the brush, working those bristles until everything that's coming off the brush is fresh, clean water. We pull off our paint, put our shelving back in place, put our wall hangings back on the wall, clean up all of our drop cloths, clean up all of our paint, and you can see we've done a really beautiful paint job on the whole downstairs in just a day and a half, because we worked together and we prepped and we thought through, okay, what's going to be the process. I hope this helps you, and I hope it makes your downstairs a beautiful paint job. I'm Eddie Field with Field Guided DIY. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.